Welcome back to the Conservatine. I'm your host, Chase Levitt, and I'd like to welcome Kim Hamblin onto the show. She is running for Cache County GOP chair. And so thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. The first question I want to ask you is just kind of who are you and why are you a Republican? Why are you conservative?
Yeah, um, so I'm Kim Hamblin. I've lived in Utah majority of my life. I moved up to Cache County when I got married to my husband, and I'm part of the Republican Party because it's just the alternative is kind of crazy. It's just lunacy out there. When you've got people, screaming that we need to follow the science, but then they are denying simple biology. It's crazy. It's just
Right.
crazy. So it's very frustrating to, see that. And I just can't identify with that or relate to that. I don't relate to those ideas because again, it's just complete lunacy.
Right.
So, and I think that's how the vast majority of Americans feel, but we're told we can't say that. But I feel like the tide is turning. The pendulum always swings left and right, and it has swung to the far left, and it's starting to swing to the right. And we've got the momentum now, and we need to take advantage of it and make changes.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for that answer. And thank you for telling us a little bit about you. My next question is what made you decide to run for chair?
Because I'm sick and tired of this. It's just we need some new blood in the party. My gosh, I feel like we are losing the political battle here between the Republicans and Democrats because there's no new ideas, no new blood, and everybody on the right is like, hey, we've just got to play nice with everybody. Don't rock the boat. And I'm like, no, rock the boat. That's what we
Right.
need to do. Um, and and like I said, like most Americans, I'm just sick and tired of all this craziness. And as much as I post about it on Facebook, that it's not really going to do much.
Right.
And so if I really want things to change, then I'm going to actually have to take action to make changes. And so
Right.
that's why I'm running for GOP chair.
Right. That's awesome. And we've talked about how we can't be doing politics as usual.
No, and I don't know why, but we for some reason have not woken up to this fact. The Democrats and the far left have woken up to this fact a long time ago, which is why they changed their strategy, and we still haven't. And that's ridiculous. We are being left behind, and our party is being torn apart from the inside out with just stupid infighting, and there's just no life in our party anymore.
Right.
There's a reason why Donald Trump got elected. Love him or hate him, that guy had energy and he attracted a ton of people, and he still does because he's not boring. You think about the Republican Party, and automatically you think of like just boring old, really antiquated, really. It's
Right.
just not, it hasn't moved forward and it hasn't been innovative in the way that it needs to reach out to voters. And it's very much like, oh, business as usual. No, no, we can't do that anymore. And so I think that we need to wake up to this fact and start, being smarter about how we reach out to voters and how we relate to them too.
Exactly. So I want to ask you now, what is your vision for the county party? What do you want to change?
The big thing is communication to the
Right.
public. My gosh, I went on the county website, and one, it's just so boring. Holy cow. Again, this is part of the problem with the party. It's just so boring. But the website needs to be revamped. There needs to be easy information for people to get at. And so, simple things like, what is a delegate? What is a caucus? What's the purpose of these positions? Why do we have a caucus? Why is it important? Even have a copy of to a link to the Constitution. Like, why don't we have that on our
Right.
page? Like, that's our foundation. But it really can't be the most important information it can't be more than like 4 clicks in. Otherwise, people aren't going to do it. And that
Yeah.
hasn't been revamped. And there's no communication, to the public about events. The Lincoln Day dinner, that came and went. And, unless you know about it, you don't know about it. It wasn't discussed. It wasn't really that well advertised. And, and I've talked to you before, you were at the Lincoln Day dinner, minus the keynote speaker. I mean, what a snore fest. It was just so, I was like, really, I'm ready to fall asleep right now. So it was, why do we not have more energy? Why are we not excited? And I don't mean excited like trying to open up a Christmas gift on Christmas morning. Excited as if, why are we not more upset about that, more angry, more or even hopeful for the fact that it's starting to swing to the right and people are starting to push back? Why isn't there just any more emotion than just this kind of like steady state? We are just here and we are doing our thing. Like, what is that?
Right.
So I would like to get more energy into the party, and like I said, better communication about what the GOP party is doing in the county. And just better outreach to not even just the delegates, but just the community as a whole. Because again, there are many of us that are sick and tired of all this. But yet again, we are told we can't talk about it. We need to be able to absolutely talk about it. It's our First Amendment right to be able to talk about it. And so, why aren't we creating a forum to help people be able to vent their frustrations so that we know as a party what is important to the county?
Right.
And I just feel like there's just such a lack of communication. So that would be the first thing. And then, education, to help, the community understand bills that are happening. And again, what is a caucus? What is a delegate? Why is it important to be involved? If we have a ton of people involved, that makes the work a lot lighter. So it's an old proverb, many hands make the work light. That's what needs to happen. And people should be, vested in their own community and what's happening at the local and state and federal levels. And for far too long, we've kind of slept at the wheel. We're just like, hey, somebody else will do it. I don't want to be involved. That's part of the problem with, the conservatives and Republicans in general, is that we're just like, we just want to be left alone. I just want to do my thing. Just leave me alone. But we are just past that luxury of being left alone. And that's why we're in this situation, because we didn't get together, and we need to come together and that would be so powerful if the party can actually grow and also unite more fully. And I feel like there's a lot of infighting, and that needs to stop. That's dumb.
Right. Which you see on the other side, the Democrats, that's one thing that they're good at, is uniting.
Yes, like the major points that they want to push, they unite under those. They have, of course, the fringe, ideas that they want to discuss, but the core ideas that they are trying to push, they mobilize, they get organized, and they push those core values. Why are we not doing the same? Why are we fighting about the fringe stuff instead of the core stuff and pushing that through? It's mind-boggling how inefficient it is, and it's very angersome, to be honest.
I couldn't agree anymore. I want to ask you about, we've kind of talked about this. You want to kind of revamp or get more fundraising coming in, and
absolutely
through different events. What kind of different events would you want to like put together for the county, for whoever would want to go?
Yeah, so like for the county, we need to get more people involved, but it needs to be fun. If you have a political event and people hear it's a political event, no one is going to come. No one wants that. Let's be honest. But really, even just events where we can bring the community together and just let people have fun, and if they have fun, then they're going to start talking with each other.
Right.
They're going to find out that there's more people that they can relate to than not. And they're going to feel more united. And even just small things like that. So like I said, even if we did like a barbecue event, like a barbecue cook-off,
Yeah.
we can have somebody that can barbecue on a traditional grill barbecue. We can do something that is smoked, something that's in cast iron. Who doesn't like good food? And so bring people together, have a good time, and just get a sense of community and a little bit more feeling of unitedness, as opposed to all this division and isolation, which is what's happened. I would like to get that going, and I'd like to definitely revamp the Lincoln Day dinner. I mean, oh my gosh, why is it not more fun? It should be fun, and I just felt like it was so sombering, as opposed to being excited. And you're in a room full of people that share the vast majority of the same values as you.
Right.
Why was it like a downer? It should be exciting and buzzing and lively. And I just was like, holy cow, what is happening here? And
Right.
to me, I mean, you're not going to attract people to go to that. Who wants to pay a whole bunch of money to sit there and basically like be in sacrament meeting? I mean, just, that's what it felt like. It was like
Yeah.
sacrament meeting talks. And I'm like, who wants to do that on a Saturday night when the next morning you'll get up and go to church and have the same experience and you don't have to pay for it? I just,
Yeah.
it needs to, there are so many ideas, and I am not a person that has all the right answers or all the answers, but I am smart enough to know that there are people that I should surround myself that do have the right answers. And
Right.
so the greatest leaders know that they're not the smartest person in the room. That's why they surround themselves with people who are the smartest people. So this is what I'm talking about, is we can have more ideas and more dialogue, and I feel like none of that is happening. Everything is like, this is how it's always been done, it's how it's always going to be. It's like,
Right.
why can't we innovate and adjust and honestly just change, because it's not working. What we've done isn't the way we should be doing it, because it's not working.
Right. And the way that things have been done, you had brought up people, if they know it's a political event, they're not going to want to go,
Yeah.
especially the youth, unless they're
Oh,
like me and are already involved. And
and that's
so,
very few, Chase. Let's be honest. You're
right.
you're kind of like a unicorn here.
Right.
The vast majority of your generation is like, hey, TikTok, and that's about it. And
Exactly.
they're not looking to, you know, really critically think about policy and how that affects them personally. They're just like, TikTok, whatever TikTok says, I'm gonna do whatever TikTok trend is going on. That's that's what's important. And I'm like, holy cow.
Right. So I want to ask you, I mean, we've talked about this just so everyone else kind of knows, what will you do to get the next generation, my generation, young conservatives more involved?
My gosh, I mean, just even have a Twitter account for the GOP party for the county. I mean, like, holy cow, and get more information on there, tweet more, and really and have some fun content. There's so much content out there from very funny people,
Right.
and it's not even people that necessarily are Republican or conservative, but they are just logical. Why are we not reposting some of their stuff? Like
Yeah.
Russell Brand he's hilarious, but he is very much like against all the craziness, but he is not a Republican,
No.
but he puts on good content. Why aren't we sharing this? But he's hilarious. And there's lots of ways we can reach out to the youth. And if we don't, we've already started losing the youth without question. It's already happened. Why are we not waking up to this fact, and why are we not doing more to fight back? You've got kids that are identifying as non-binary, or that they are identifying as an animal or whatever. That shows me that the youth are super lost. That is not something that would have happened back in my generation,
Yeah.
but the youth are super lost, and the left is trying to claim them. In fact, they've done a pretty good job of claiming them.
They have.
We need to reclaim the youth and let them know that we are not some, old, decrepit, antiquated party. we are a party of values and strength. And right now we are the anti-establishment. It's
Exactly.
oddly enough, somehow it's switched from the left was, anti-establishment and the right was pro-establishment. And now it has switched, that the left has become establishment and we are the rebels. And you know
Right.
what? Rebels are cool. So
Right. And I had Mike Bird on a few episodes ago, and we had talked about how the party is the party of old people because
yeah.
people when they go through life, they may be liberal as they're younger, but when they go through life and they learn how life actually works, they realize that conservative values help them the most
Oh,
in life. And
absolutely.
and that's something that we need to teach kids now instead of letting them get grabbed by the left. Because again, like you said, the Democrats are doing a really good job at that.
They've done it. I mean, I was watching a YouTube video and this ad for ACLU came on. And oh my gosh, even just the soundtrack made the video look so cool. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they are so good at this. Why are we not better? Why are we not doing something like this to reach out to them? And don't get me wrong, I love the videos where, there's patriotic music in the back and stuff like that, but it's not going to be relatable to the young, to the
Right.
youth. And again, somehow the Democrats have understood this for years, and the Republicans are still like, we don't need to do that. Like, you do, you really do. So,
Right.
and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because I was just kind of looking around and on the Utah GOP Republican page, I can't remember the exact amount of followers or stuff like that, but they had far less than the Democratic Party, which seems weird because you're like, it's in
We're in Utah.
Utah. Yeah, but the thing is they don't push relatable content. They don't push relatable things that the youth and other people want to see. That's what the Democrats do. The Democrats will
Yes.
draw those people in with that sort of stuff. So, yeah, and definitely with the county, I agree with you with like the website and across the various social media platforms. It's boring.
Oh, it's so. I went on there and like fell asleep in the first 2 seconds of looking at it. I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is what it looks like." And you know, it doesn't have to be. That's what's
Exactly.
mind-boggling. It doesn't have to be this way, but for some reason we keep thinking this is the way it's always been done, and so this is how it's got to be. And that is that is just the worst.
I
We are
agree.
getting left behind because of this mentality. And I mean, businesses have innovated over the course of, the generations. Why are we as a party still stuck back in like 1950s? You know, I
Right.
I don't understand this. And that is, I mean, if you look in business, so I have my master's in economics, so and I'm in finance. And so I look at this kind of stuff all the time. Like if you look at businesses that have not innovated, they have been left behind and they are gone by the wayside. I mean, look at what Tesla has done to the entire car industry, which everybody thought was impenetrable.
Yeah.
He came and disrupted it. Now, if you are a car manufacturer that does not create an EV, you are going to be left behind. Like that is a market that you are not going to capture, you're not going to get the revenue, and you're going to be left behind. Like you have to innovate, you have to, you know, keep up with the times. And I feel like people are not understanding this idea, which again, it's so mind-boggling because everybody uses a phone. That's an innovation, but
Yeah.
somehow that's okay. But to innovate the party, why can't we do that? It's so, to me, I like, why can't you make the connection? But they can't. And
Right.
it's just, that's where I'm like, we need to get some new blood. We need to get people who are excited about, you know, making a change for the right direction, for the party. And, there's tons of them in the Valley. It's just that, again, it's not easily accessible on any platform for the GOP party. Like, why does the GOP not have anything that allows people to easily connect with each other?
Right.
I mean, you could even have topics on the website page for the county of, okay, these are things that I find important. And then you can see people, like, they can make comments. It could be
Yeah,
like a forum, something simple as that. And it's very cost efficient. This doesn't take a ton of money to do this.
exactly.
Somebody that develops, right there. I mean, in an afternoon, they could create that whole thing.
Yeah, or even just you or I. Like, I made my own
Yeah.
website for my podcast. It's
Yes.
way more exciting than a lot of other websites out there, in my opinion. And it's not that
Yeah.
hard.
No, it's not. Yes, there's so many tools that allow us, like, you don't even, like you said, you don't have to have a developer, a
Right.
computer developer. You can have, like, there's programs that do almost all the legwork. You just, like, this is what I want to see. And it's like,
Yeah.
boom,
You just make it
you
look
know?
good.
Yes. And it's just, again, these are simple fixes. Why have we not done any of them? Again, we're stuck in that mentality. This is what's always been done. This is how it's always got to be. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, this is honestly, that mentality is how Silicon Valley blew up to the size it did, because, the tech sector in California, the venture capitalism there, the funding, they understood that just because it was always done that way doesn't mean it's the best way. And California invested heavy. I mean, not that they do many things well, but they did do this well. So the financiers very much, like, thought, okay, just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean that's how it's always got to be. New York, they turned down so many opportunities, and they lost out. And
Yeah.
again, they got left behind. Like, it's just a constant fact that if you don't move forward, you're going to be left behind.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And I kind of want to pivot a little bit to more of 2024, because if you become chair, you're going to have a lot to work on this upcoming year with
Yep.
so much going on with the
Oh
presidential
yeah.
election, congressional elections, the governor, everything. So I want to ask
Yes.
you, how do you plan to work with the people around you, the state GOP, etc., to get America First candidates on the ballot?
Well, first of all, you need to vet them. My gosh, talk with them in person, not just go on their website or whatever. Talk with them in person. And if you don't vet them, I mean, anybody can just register as a Republican and start running. You
Right.
need to really see where their values are, where the perspectives are, because that's part of the problem that we've had, is that people in Utah, everybody knows if you come to Utah and you want to run, you have to run as a Republican. If you run as a Democrat, the likelihood of you winning is almost none.
Yeah.
And so then we do have a lot of people that are just like, okay, I'll just slap on R and I'll go ahead and run. And it's like, well, but you don't actually hold any of the values that we hold dear.
Yeah.
So really, we need to talk with them and vet them. And if that's not, and I feel like that's not really happening. I feel like people are like,
Yeah.
oh, they're a Republican, so I'll vote for them. Well, everybody that runs here is a Republican. There's very few that run as Democrats. And at least I'll give them this, for those that are running as Democrats, at least they are, running as who they say they are.
Right.
But yeah, I just feel like we need to do a much more in-depth process of talking with the candidates and letting the delegates have access to them. That's the other
Exactly.
problem. I feel like I'm just like, why is it that only a few people actually get access to the candidates that are supposed to be our elected officials that we elect, but we don't get to talk with them? And so there should be like delegate night where they come and they're just talking with the delegates and figuring out, like, letting them really have a chance to meet them and talk with them in person, and let the delegates fill them out.
Right.
And I feel like there's some of that going on, but not enough. And again, the events need to be blasted out. Like, first of all, they need to be organized on to actually happen. And then it needs to be communicated to the whole community that
Right.
this is what's happening. And I feel like that is definitely not what's happening right now. If you don't know, you don't know, and
Right.
you miss out. And so and again, you can use Twitter for this and Facebook and, Insta. I'm old, so I use Facebook, but but Insta even, and blast it out there. And
Yeah,
and I mean, why would we not want to meet the candidates, and why are we trying to prevent the delegates or just the community at large from having access to them?
right.
And I feel like the people that are asking for our votes, they better make the effort to come all the way up here. you
Exactly.
know like, you don't get our vote just automatically. That's not how this goes. And I would like to see, really, the big long-term goal would be that the counties that are not Salt Lake, because they are very liberal, but the other counties that are surrounding the rest of the state, that we get more unified, and then we can have an incredibly strong voice. Salt Lake dominates Utah because of the sheer population size. The density of their population is what makes them powerful. And so, but if we can pool everybody and unite people a little bit more, I'm not saying we all have to be, best friends and holding hands in a circle singing Kumbaya. We just need to agree on the core values that we want to push, on the core policies we want to push. If we can unite the other counties, then oh my gosh, we would absolutely dominate everything we want. I mean,
Right.
Salt Lake would not be able to compete with the rest of the state in population. And so, and that's very powerful. And again, that's something that, that again, the left does really well. They organize better. And I don't know why we haven't come to realize this, like why we haven't woken up to the fact we need to organize better. But that is something that we really do need to do better. And I think that's one way that we could do that. I would love to see us really connect with other county GOP parties and really move more closely as one unit. And
I
I know
agree.
there's the state GOP, but I feel like really the counties need to decide to come together,
Mhm.
or else it's not going to matter. It's not going to work, even though
Right.
there's a state GOP. And so, and I would like to reach out to the other counties and, combine our forces. There's strength in numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, and just like you had said, we need to have more meet the candidates type things, not only for the delegates, but just for the people. And at these
Yes.
various events that we put on, have a couple of them come in and talk, have a little booth out there, and it will really get people out there to educate themselves on who their elected officials are or to be.
Yes.
So,
And why is that not more, like, why aren't people more excited to meet the candidates? Because
right.
again, you say a political event and it's so boring, but it doesn't have to be. It can be fun, and you can meet people that think more like you, and you feel more support and you feel more united. And that's what needs to happen. There just needs to be more dialogue between people, so that they don't feel so isolated. And I feel like we as a party are not helping to foster that, and we really need to do a better job.
I agree,
So,
and I couldn't agree more with all of that. And it's kind of hard because being in Cache County, we're kind of secluded from a lot of the state, especially Salt Lake, all that area. So doing more of these things will really help. So,
oh, absolutely. And so, and I'm okay with that. We're a little isolated up here
right.
away from all that. But at the same time, I feel like one of the things that has been incredibly effective in, um, you know, tampering speech is that now people feel, conservatives feel like they are the minority, when in reality they are the majority.
Mhm.
The vast majority of Americans think like we do. We want to be able to provide for our families. We love our country, and we don't want the craziness that the left wants. But the way that they have attacked us, it has made, I feel like, a lot of the conservatives feel more isolated. and that they can't say this kind of stuff out loud. And that is where I'm just like, we need to do a better job of providing a way for you guys to talk with each other, even if it's just on Facebook, and you guys just, we post up something like, this is a bill that is gonna, that we're trying to fight against, and people can just write comments just so that there's an exchange of ideas, and somewhat connection. And I just feel like that is just, we need to better use technology because it's there for our benefit. If we
For
want
sure.
to use it correctly, it can benefit us in a big way. And it's just not being done. And again, we just need to get some more people interested in what's going on, and let's liven up the party a little bit. Let's bring some lightness to it, because it just seems so heavy because there's so much going on that I think a lot of people feel the weight of that. But if we can again come together as a group of people that share similar values, and ideas, that burden isn't going to feel as strong and so, or as heavy. So I think
Exactly.
that's it, like even just this exchange,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. It's helpful. And
Right.
hopefully people who are listening to it will also find it helpful, that they're not alone. So
Right. Now, I have one more question for you, and just take a second and just kind of, what's your message to the delegates, to the county? What is your message?
wake up. You don't have the luxury of saying that I don't want to be involved. I don't want to know. I just want to be left alone. We don't have that luxury anymore. We have to be involved, because that is what has caused us to come to this point in our society now, in our country, that we've just kind of kept saying, well, I don't want to deal with it. Someone else will deal with it. I was one of those people too, and that's why I've decided, like, I'm going to try to do something different here and try to get involved, because it's what I've done in the past is obviously not working. I'm not helping to affect change. And um and if I'm not going to, if I'm going to preach to everybody, hey, we can't do business as usual, then I can't be doing that either. And
Yeah.
so, and you don't have to get involved in a big way, but just even, you know, be more aware of what's going on and start talking about it and actually care, because it affects your life every day. The thing is that the craziness is not just at our doorstep. It is freaking kicked in the front door and come into our homes and into our lives and right into our faces. And that's because we've kept saying, I don't want to be involved. I don't want, someone else will do it. I just want to be left alone. We can't do that anymore. And so wake up, get involved, again, big or small. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do, trying to run for an office. Like, even just try to figure out what's going on and pay attention and maybe follow, follow the GOP party or on Twitter or whatever, just something to get you involved.
Yeah. Thank you for that message. And I want to say thank you for talking with me and having this conversation. It's really awesome. And for everyone listening, this is Kim Hamblin. She's running for county GOP chair at the county convention on April 15th.
That's
So,
correct.
so I wish you the best of luck in that race, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Chase.
Yep.